The Book Thief Recap. Synopsis. It is 1939. Nazi Germany. The country is holding its breath. Death has never been busier, and will be busier still. By her brother's graveside, Liesel's life is changed when she picks up a single object, partially hidden in the snow. It is the Gravedigger's Handbook, left behind there by accident, and it is her first act of book thievery. So begins a love affair with books and words, as Liesel, with the help of her accordion-playing foster father, learns to read. Soon she is stealing books from Nazi book burnings, the mayor's wife's library, wherever there are books to be found. But these are dangerous times. When Liesel's foster family hides a Jew in their basement, Liesel's world is both opened up and closed down. Plot. Spoiler warning. This section has important plot information. Caution is advised. Between 1939 and 1943, the majority of the narrative takes place in the fictional town of Malching, Germany, near Munich. Death tells Liesel Meminger'S story from the age of 9, when she is grieving the death of her brother and being separated from her mother. Liesel moves in with Hans and Rosa Huberman of Malching's 33 Himmel Street. When Liesel first arrives, she is unable to read and is teased at school. Hans, a painter and accordion player, teaches her how to read during midnight sessions in the basement, reading from the book Liesel took from her brother's burial, the Gravedigger's Handbook. Liesel experiences nightmares during her early days with the Hubermans, and Hans stays up all night with her. Hans earns Liesel's trust as she grows closer to him and associates his presence with safety, thanks to his compassionate manner and accordion playing. Reddy Steiner, the Hubermans' next-door neighbor, becomes a close friend of hers. Reddy tries over and over to get Liesel to kiss him, but she always says no. Himmel Street is a nice location for Liesel for a while. She assists Rosa in collecting the laundry from Malching's many rich residents. 8 Grand Strasse, the home of the mayor and his wife, Ilse Hermann, draws her interest in particular. In Malching, the Nazi Party's presence becomes more noticeable. Liesel and Reddy are compelled to join the band of German girls and the Hitler Youth, respectively, in addition to the demolition of Jewish shops and the painting of yellow stars on door fronts and windows. Malching residents assemble for a bonfire to commemorate the Führer's birthday, during which they burn enemy propaganda, including books. One book escapes the fire, and Liesel hides it beneath her shirt. She's realizing that Hitler is to blame for her brother's murder and her mother's disappearance, and she despises him for it. When Ilse Hermann notices Liesel taking the book, she decides to invite her inside her library to share her love of literature with her. The library is the most beautiful thing Liesel has ever seen. Meanwhile, in Stuttgart, a Jew named Max Vandenberg is hiding in a storage room with the help of his buddy Walter Kugler. Walter has contacted Hans to see whether he is willing to keep the commitment he made to Max's mother following World War I. Max's father, Erich Vandenberg, saved Hans' life during World War I and taught him how to play the accordion. Frau Vandenberg promised Hans that she may contact him if she ever needed anything. Hans agrees to hide Max in his basement and encloses the key to his home within the front cover of Hitler's book Mein Kampf. This book, in an ironic twist, holds the key to Max's life. Liesel is intrigued by the man in her basement once he arrives at 33 Himmel Street, but she is also wary of him. She begins to notice that they share a lot of interests. They both have nightmares, they both fight with their fists, and they have both lost their families. They also hold Hans Huberman in high regard, believing that he and his accordion are safe havens. When Max becomes ill, Liesel does her utmost to bring the outside world to him, describing the weather, giving him snow, and putting gifts at the foot of his bed. She continues to play with Reddy and go to school while keeping Max's identity hidden and listening to his stories about his history late at night. Max enjoys stories as well, and he tells them to Liesel. Max is also aware of the power of words. He paints over the pages of Mein Kampf and creates a book for Liesel called The Standover Man for her birthday. It's the story of his life, including how he had to leave his family, his voyage to the Hubermans, and Liesel, who has become his buddy and keeps an eye on him. Max begins to have daydreams about boxing the Führer in addition to his nightmares. But Hitler always uses his words to encourage the crowd and turn them against Max. Rosa Huberman loses her washing jobs, including the one for Ilse Hermann, because most of the people on Himmel Street are struggling financially. Meanwhile, Liesel and Reddy join a gang of teenagers who rob farmers of apples and potatoes. Liesel accompanies Reddy to the mayor's house one night and gets the title of book thief by sneaking into the library through the window and stealing the Whistler from Ilse Hermann. For Liesel, the summer of 1942 is mostly a joyous period. She spends the majority of her time with Hans, who is blackening the windows of mulching homes and businesses in preparation for airstrikes. He tells her stories while playing his accordion, and they even enjoy a bottle of champagne with the inhabitants at one of the homes. Reddy continues his preparations for the Hitler Youth Carnival, where he intends to repeat Jesse Owens' feat of winning 4 gold medals at the 1936 Olympics. He wins 3 of the races, but is disqualified from the 4th, which he claims is on purpose. Liesel and Reddy pay another late-night visit to Ilse Hermann's residence, this time taking the Duden dictionary and thesaurus, which had been left by the window as a gift. Liesel discovers a letter from Frau Hermann inside, stating that Liesel is welcome to enter through the front door as well. The air raid started shortly after these more cheerful days. Because their basement is not deep enough to shield them from the bombings, Liesel and her family, as well as Reddy and his family, seek refuge in the Fiedler's basement. Max must be left behind. Liesel begins to read from the Whistler in the Fiedler's cellar on one occasion. Everyone gathers around her, and the words soothe them in the same way that they soothe Liesel. Those in the basement wait to hear the conclusion of the chapter even after the all-clear signal has been issued. Books, Liesel understands, are her accordion. On their journey to Dachau, Jewish parades pass through mulching. Hans tries to help one of them after Liesel notices their distress. They had to send Max away due of Hans's behavior, as he is terrified the Gestapo would come to inspect their home. The Gestapo, on the other hand, never comes for him. Rather, they come for Reddy to give him a spot in a special school. The Steiners are against it. Both Hans and Alex Steiner are eventually punished for their acts. Hans is sent to the LSE, an air raid unit near Stuttgart, and Alex is assigned to an army hospital in Vienna, Austria. Himmel Street takes on a desolate appearance. Rosa sends Liesel a book that Max designed for her called The Word Shaker. Many of Max's stories, opinions, and sketches are included. Liesel is intrigued by the legend about the word shaker. Max portrays a girl who can use words as well as some of Hitler's most experienced word shakers. But she utilizes her words to help her companion and remove small particles of hate from a terrible forest. Her remarks have a positive impact rather than a negative impact. Meanwhile, Hans Huberman, while driving an LSE truck, avoids a deadly tragedy. Reinhold Zucker, who has a grudge against Hans due to a card game defeat, sits in Hans' normal seat on the truck and is killed in the accident. Hans is sent home after breaking his leg. The Jews continue to march through mulching in 1943, and Liesel is continuously on the lookout for Max. She sees him one day and rushes up to him, but she is thrown out of the procession by a Nazi soldier. She stands up and walks back into the parade, chanting lines from the word shaker. She's whipped, and Reddy has to restrain her to prevent her from returning for further punishment. Liesel finally informs Reddy about Max Vandenberg after that. Liesel returns to Frau Hermann's library, enraged by Word's ability to fill her up while simultaneously causing so much hatred in so many people. She tears pages from a book and then writes Frau Hermann a note apologizing and stating that she will not return. Ilse Hermann appears at Liesel's front door 3 days later and hands her a black journal in which she can write the words of her own story. Then, in October 1943, while everyone is sleeping, bombs fall on Himmel Street. Liesel, on the other hand, is penning her story in her journal in the basement. She makes it out alive. She finds the bodies of people she loves when she emerges from the cellar, including her mama and papa, as well as Reddy, whom she kisses on the lips. She is carried away by air raid officers, and Death discovers and takes her book, The Book Thief. At this time, this is how he learned about her past. Liesel is picked up from the police station by Ilse Hermann and the mayor, and they take her home with them. After hearing about the bombs and finding Liesel, Alex Steiner is relieved of duty. She talks to him about Reddy and how she kissed him. They spend a lot of time together, walking and climbing to Dachau after it was liberated. She spends a lot of time in Alex's shop with him, until one day in 1945, Max Vandenberg appears. They have a reunion that is both joyful and heartbreaking. Death brings the story to a close by describing Liesel Meminger's death, as well as her lengthy life in Sydney with her husband, 3 children, and several grandchildren. When Death arrives to collect her, he places her down so they can take a walk together. He wants to ask her a lot of questions about humans after showing her the book Thief. He doesn't comprehend how they can hold so much light and so much gloom. But he doesn't ask these questions. He can only tell her that humans terrify him.